Austin Dillon loses his playoff berth, but he keeps the win. The Richmond Raceway penalty report is out. Let's chat about it. Hey everyone, my name is Taylor Kitchen and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, where we do motorsports media your way, talking about NASCAR all the time. And the end of the Richmond Raceway race was controversial, to say the least, with how it ended. Austin Dillon making contact with Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, moving them out of the way and getting the win for himself. Of course, after that race, there was a lot of online discourse and opinions, whether it was opinions on the drivers, the move itself. Lots of agree to disagree online, but the one thing I think we can all collectively agree on was, does this cross a line, and what is NASCAR going to do about it? Elton Sawyer, after the race, said that NASCAR would look at all data, all audio, all video to determine if any penalties need to be made, and today we have their decisions. NASCAR has determined that Austin Dillon will lose 25 driver's points, and of course, he will keep the win but lose the playoff berth. As for the spotter of the number 3, he will be suspended for 3 races for his comments made on the radio at the time of these incidents, saying, quote, wreck him, wreck him. Last but not least, Joey Logano was fined $50,000 for a post-race incident on pit road where he parked the number 22 in front of Austin Dillon's pit stall, revved the engine, spun the tires near friends, family, crew members, etc., drove off. Elton Sawyer did say when talking to Kim Kuhn on NASCAR.com that they do have some work to do with their post-race procedures, but they will ensure they do a better job making sure that children, sponsors, etc. are not on the hot side of the track during that time. Now let's get to the decision for Austin Dillon specifically. First off, why did it take so long for this decision to be made? Well, according to Elton Sawyer, he said he would rather make the right decision than make a rash decision, which I can 100% respect. With the magnitude of this decision and what it means for the future of the sport, it's not a decision that NASCAR should take lightly or did take lightly. He did say that they are working towards making these decisions before the end of the night during a race weekend, so they are working towards making these almost immediate, which is good to hear. Next up, why this decision? What did they take into account when making this decision? And Elton Sawyer didn't go into detail with this, saying, quote, in all due respect to the appeal process, we looked at this in the totality of everything that happened as you entered turn 3 and as the cars got to the start-finish line. As we looked at all the data, we came to the conclusion that a line had been crossed. So mentioning the appeal process, and yes, RCR issued a statement on social media saying that they do not agree with NASCAR's decision and they will be appealing. So when more information comes out about that, we will let you know right here at TobyChristieCom. But in the meantime, Elton Sawyer did share that they did toy around with the idea of stripping the win as well, but the wording in the NASCAR rulebook as it is now didn't really allow them to do that. So for future cases, NASCAR is looking at rewording the rulebook to have some sort of penalty that could include stripping a race win for something like this in the future. A few minutes ago, I mentioned that NASCAR looked at video, audio, and SMT data. So what did Elton Sawyer see with the SMT data that proved intent? When looking at that data, Elton Sawyer said, quote, in our view, that crossed a line without a doubt. Again, our sport has been based on strong emotions. It's been based off win and you're in. But anything that we feel like from the sanctioning body that has crossed the line from the standpoint that compromises the integrity of our playoff format as well as our championship, we are going to get involved. So again, not going into too much detail as to not hurt the appeal process, but let's look at the SMT data together from Austin Dillon's car from laps 407, which will be in orange, and laps 408, which is in blue. When NASCAR looked at the incident between Dillon and Logano in particular, they saw that Austin Dillon made a right-hand turn with his wheel into Logano, and you can see that with the blue line going down. And again, that orange line is how Austin Dillon raced the lap before. So you can tell there was a stark difference in how he was turning that wheel. Now let's look at the contact between Dillon and Hamlin. Factually, you can see that Denny Hamlin was running the same racing line that Austin Dillon was running the lap before. And when Hamlin went to exit the corner, actually exiting it just slightly below that preferred racing line, Austin Dillon turned left. Now what NASCAR had to determine was that hard left turn to get back on the racing line, or was it to clean Denny Hamlin out? Was there intent there? And that is what NASCAR had to decide when making these penalties and with the extremity of these penalties. So there's no doubt that Denny Hamlin came up the track. He was coming up the track to exit the turn, and there's no doubt that Austin Dillon came down the track. You see that from the data and visually with your eyes, but is NASCAR has to decide was their intent. Ultimately, though, what is the message that NASCAR wants to send? They want everyone to know that in these situations, they will step in and make the right call to uphold the integrity of the sport, the playoffs, and the championship, because Richmond did open a can of worms. It fully exposed a flaw in the playoff system. It also exposed how drivers can take advantage of the playoff system. And it also asked the question, where is the line and will NASCAR draw it? We've seen a driver move another driver out of the way for a win. That's nothing new. But what NASCAR saw with this particular situation crossed over a line, and they felt they needed to implement a penalty as such to make sure the line isn't crossed again. Of course, like I said, Richard Childress Racing did say they will appeal this decision by NASCAR, so we will keep you up to date on all of that at TobyChristieCom. But what are your thoughts on the penalty, this information? Was it fair? Was it not fair? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, to keep up with all of our NASCAR content, make sure to go to TobyChristieCom and AboveTheYellowLine.com.